joining us. He's at a professional development workshop. So only Mr. McIntyre, Dr. Weber, and I are representing the district this evening.
We lost Tom.
Did log out once because he was having trouble hearing us. So he said he was going to come back. He did come back, but I think he left again. So he's trying to figure it out.
So are we going to wait for Tom?
No,
Okay.
I think we're good. I think we'll just, he'll come on by the Pledge of Allegiance. So I think we'll be all right. All righty. So we are going to call the meeting to order. I want to welcome everyone to the regular meeting, September 24th, for the Novi School District Board of Education. Willie, if I can get a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Cook?
Here.
Trustee Hood?
Here.
Trustee Mena? Here. Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Roney?
Here.
Trustee Ruskin?
Here.
And Trustee Smith will be here in a sec, right?
Technical difficulties, yes.
Okay.
Okay, if we can rise so that Ms. Murphy can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. I will do that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mrs. Murphy. If I can get a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I'll move we approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Presented by Mr. Cook and supported by Mrs. Roney. We will get a roll call vote. Mr. Mena, please.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Hood?
Yes.
Trustee Mena, yes. Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Roney?
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin?
Yes.
Okay, and no Trustee Smith right now.
He is, I'm promoting him to panelist as we speak. He
There you
ended up
go.
in the panel.
vote yes.
Great.
There he
Okay,
is.
we'll get you down for he has approved the agenda. Okay.
Next, we have our first opportunity, comments from the audience related to agenda items. Comments will be read that have been submitted via the Google document that has been put forward to the public. Comments are not back and forth commentary, but an opportunity for the audience or for the public to make comment related to our current agenda. So, Dr. Matthews?
There are three comments this evening. They relate to the agenda in the sense that they are related to return to school. And we're going to be talking about the extended learning plan, so I will read them at this point. The first comment is Heather Wendell, and she says, respectfully and first and foremost, I have full appreciation for what the district has tried to implement during this most unprecedented time. However, my husband and I both work full-time, and even though our son goes to the hybrid option, this is extremely difficult and not feasible for the continuing future. I've been a registered nurse for 13 years, and my current role is auditing COVID cases across the state. There are rarely any cases, and less than 1% are pediatric. The American Association of Pediatricians have encouraged Governor Whitmer and lawmakers that they safely get students back for in-person learning this fall. The MIAAP has published their recommendations citing science and data that indicate children are at lower risk of contracting COVID-19 and are less likely to spread the virus to others. According to the pediatricians, young people without underlying health conditions also rarely become seriously ill from COVID-19. Despite the disproportionately small effect of COVID-19 on children, the public health response has had a disproportionately large effect on children's lives. School closures have put the mental and social health of children at risk, in addition to affecting their educational trajectories. According to the MIAAP, a return to school is most essential for younger, special needs, and at-risk students. My son has asked every day since March to go back to school. I know I am not the only parent saying this, but his education and development are suffering greatly. He has no problems wearing a mask all day, but the expectation for a barely 6-year-old to sit in front of a computer for hours each day is asinine. He needs the structure, socialization, and hands-on learning that only full-time, face-to-face classes can offer. I know Novi plans to reevaluate this coming November. However, I know several districts are reevaluating and even starting or already full-time face-to-face sooner. Again, as a nurse, I fully understand that safety and health come first. However, several essential workers, healthcare, police, daycare workers, airline employees, grocery store delivery persons, etc., have been working and exposed for months and months without pause or hesitation. It is beyond frustrating and a bit hypocritical to protect our teachers and deem the education system process non-essential, and in the process punish our kids. I am beyond frustrated that the district hasn't come up with a better option. I'm also wondering, do parents get any say or input into these board meeting votes? We as taxpayers, which are some of the highest in the area, should most definitely get a say. Not that finances are the main concern, however, we do not have a lot of family help. I have a few friends that are NCSD teachers who were offered the option to take 12 weeks FMLA in order to watch their children, and or the NCSD will offer daycare tutoring for those teachers' children if needed. Meanwhile, the rest of us are having to quit our jobs or pay for daycare. I understand NCSD is taking direction from Governor Whitmer. However, I believe she left it up to each district. I know that NCSD is allowing football to occur this fall. It really perplexes me and enrages me that it is acceptable health-wise to play close contact football, even with the extra restrictions, but not allow full-time face-to-face in school. Is the only way to get school face-to-face again, if the only way to get school face-to-face again is to organize a protest in Lansing or at a school board meeting? Again, I'm not placing blame on you or NCSD, but things are not adding up and not realistic as they stand. It is a sad, sad world that we live in which bars, restaurants, gyms, fall sports, and basically everything is open except schools. Deerfield has been amazing, and in no way am I placing any complaints on the school or staff there. I look forward to your response and any kind of further steps I can take to accelerate face-to-face instruction. The second comment is from Brianna Bryce. Has there been any thought out into 5 days a week, but maybe half days, even if only at the K-5 level? I feel our little kiddos need something more. Right now, my daughter is completely virtual, and I'm not sure the steps taken to move her to hybrid, or if that's even an option at this point. But over the summer, she has had some traumatic events occur, aside from school closing in March. She also lost all the extracurricular activities. She was very active in soccer, dance, and swimming. She is not doing well mentally or emotionally in a virtual setting, which is rolling over into her academic well-being. I know you cannot accommodate every student individually, and I give major props and praise to all Novi teachers and administrators because you are doing an amazing job. It just isn't for some kiddos. Brianna continues, I submitted another question comment 2 days ago about my daughter struggling with virtual learning. Today, our second grade teacher is out for meetings from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Our teachers have been doing a wonderful job and doing everything they can to make sure our children are taken care of. However, today, while she is out, she informed parents the district has decided that virtual teachers will not have substitutes. My daughter truly needs the live instruction to stay on track. I understand it would be hard to have another teacher in her place, but I feel this is unfair. My daughter is already very emotional throughout the school day with live instruction. It is going to be nearly impossible to keep her engaged without a teacher to support her. And then one final comment from Adrian Haslam. Good evening to the board, administration, and the rest of the Novi Community School District. I would like to take a moment to tell you about a very special opportunity coming up on Wednesday, October 7th. After a long hiatus, the newly formed Novi Group for Parents and Guardians of LGBTQ Kids, Pride and Joy, will be starting back up with monthly meetings held virtually, hosted by the Novi Public Library. The mission of Pride and Joy is to provide educational resources, advocacy opportunities, and mutual support as we strive to love our children well. Data shows that supportive homes and environments are the greatest contributors to the physical, mental, and emotional health of LGBTQ kids. By creating a space for parents who may come from diverse backgrounds and understanding to listen and learn and encourage one another, we can help make safe spaces for all of our kids to thrive. Wednesday, October 7th will be the special engagement with guest speaker Kate Newberger, who is a mental health professional in Novi, as well as a Novi alum, and she will be presenting on LGBTQIA 101. understanding and embracing the community. I would like to invite all of you to join for this event and consider how you may help make all of your spaces safe, whether for an LGBTQ person in your life or as an ally. Registration for this event is available on the library's website. As we continue making strides for inclusion and equity, as NCSD is committed to, my hope is that our LGBTQ students and families are supported as well. Thank you. And those were the comments this evening, Dr. Ruskin. You're muted, Dr. Ruskin.
There we go. Thank you, Dr. Matthews. And thank you to the three community members who submitted their comments for the board's, for feedback to the board. Next on our agenda, we have consent items, and the consent item agenda tonight just has one item. It's approval of the minutes, the regular meeting minutes of September 10th, 2020. So if I can get a recommendation.
I'll move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education approve the consent items as presented.
Support.
Recommended by Mrs. Murphy and supported by Mr. Cook. If we can get a roll call vote, Mr. Mena?
Trustee Cook. Trustee Cook. Am I? Okay.
Yes.
All right, there we go. Trustee Hood.
Yes.
Trustee Mena, yes. Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Roney.
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Action items on our agenda tonight. The first one being the personnel report. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. As I mentioned, Dr. Kinzer is away to professional development opportunity, and so I will present the personnel recommendations this evening. We have a new hire, Tara Shefferly, for the high school in Novi Meadows, a social worker. And we have retirements, Renee Plant and Wendy Whiteside. You will note that their effective dates are not until January of 21, so they will be retiring at the semester. And then Kathy Fiegert, who was an attendance secretary at the high school. And those are our personnel recommendations for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. Can I get a recommendation? Mr. Cook?
I recommend that the Novi Community School District Board of Education adopts the personnel report recommendations as presented.
Support.
Dr. Ruskin?
Yes.
Wave.
There we go.
Recommended by Mr. Cook and supported by Mr. Mena. If anyone has any questions or comments? Okay. Hearing none, Mr. Mena, we will have a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee Hood.
Yeah.
Trustee Mena, yes. Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Roney.
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin. Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Okay. I read your lips, Danielle.
Motion carries 7-0. Next up, we have the second action item, which tonight is the extended learning plan, and I will just turn that right over to Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. On August 20th, 2020, Governor Whitmer signed into law Public Act 149. Section 98A states that in order to receive state aid for the 2020-2021 school year, districts must provide for instruction under an extended COVID-19 learning plan that has been approved by an intermediate district or authorizing body. The plan does not replace the district's COVID-19 preparedness and response plan. It is an additional plan. The extended COVID-19 learning plan was discussed at the September 10th, 2020 Board of Education meeting. It requires districts to conform to a set of assurances and to provide additional detail on the following items: educational goals, instructional delivery and exposure to core content, grading and reporting, equitable access for all students, equitable access for students with disabilities, and vulnerable students access, including students with 504s and English language learners. We discussed this at the board meeting last week, and we presented the extended COVID-19 plan to the board last week. This is an extension of our COVID-19 preparedness and response plan, and it just details for our community how we are going to continue to meet the needs of the students in our school district as we go through this extended period of both hybrid and virtual learning. So the recommendation would be that you would approve our extended COVID-19 learning plan. Once it's approved, we would get it up to the Oakland school, which needs to approve it and then move it on to the state.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. If we can get a recommendation, please. Mrs. Murphy?
I'll move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education approve the extended COVID-19 learning plan as presented.
I'll support.
Amended by Mrs. Murphy and supported by Mrs. Roney. Does anyone have any specific questions in regards to this? I know this was discussed in detail at the last meeting. Okay. Seeing none, Mr. Mena, if we can get a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Cook,
Yes.
Trustee Hood,
Yes.
Trustee Mena, yes. Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Roney,
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin,
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Next, we have information and discussion. First on the agenda is the school nurse, Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. Kathy Ferris is a licensed registered nurse with 24 years of pediatric ICU experience at both Children's Hospital of Michigan and Mott Children's Hospital in Ann Arbor in the neonatal unit, where she continues to work full-time. She graduated from Madonna University with a Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree in 1996 and is a certified pediatric nurse, a member of the Michigan Nurses Association, and vice president of the Michigan Association of School Nurses. She also is the region leader for all school nurses in Oakland County. Kathy Ferris was hired part-time in November of 2010 to work for the Novi Community School District. In December of 2010, Ms. Ferris's employment was converted to a third-party contract at an hourly rate. She also is a proud parent and involved community member. Kathy Ferris has been a valued employee. She regularly meets with our state nurse consultants and collaborates often with the counties surrounding Novi to enhance our practices, policies, and procedures. Ms. Ferris reviews each and every medical plan that is submitted and has revamped all of our medical forms to conform to the medical community. She is on call if needed for medical advice in a building or if a medical emergency should arise. Ms. Ferris has provided training to our staff with regards to insulin, EpiPen, AED, CPR, and so much more. She has been instrumental in keeping our information up to date and moving us forward through the COVID learning process. Pre-COVID, we were planning to propose to the board in our budget for the 2020-2021 school year that we wanted to make our school nurse a salaried NCSD employee. Now, through a combination of CARES Act and county money, we have the ability to make Ms. Ferris our full-time school nurse for this year. We plan to build Ms. Ferris's position into our 2021-2022 budget to ensure her continued employment in the district. And so we bring this to the board for information and discussion this evening to see if there are concerns about this proposal. And if there are not, we would bring it back to the board next week on October 1st for you to approve that. And then we would move to make Ms. Ferris a salaried part of the Novi Community School District.
Dr. Matthews, sorry, I'm waving like I have something to say. I just want to open it up for discussion. So if you have a question or a comment, or you have a financial question, Mr. McIntyre's here, just wave at me and we'll talk through this. Okay, Mr. Mena?
Yep. Well, that's quite a bit of credentials she brings to the table, so I'm excited to have her back on full time. Could you just send us, Mr. McIntyre, the specifics, the salary information, et cetera, that we would normally get for something like this?
Yes, I will.
All right, thank you.
I'd just like to comment on behalf of Kathy. As it turns out, over the years, she shared an office at the ESB with Ellen Halverson, who was the executive director basically for the Novi Educational Foundation. And now in the new building, Jason Smith and Kathy shared an office for a while. So I've gotten to see her on a number of occasions. And I just want to share with you all my professional, observances of Kathy have been nothing but spectacular. I mean, she really cares for our kiddos, and I mean, really, she was checking expiration dates of the EpiPens, that are at the different buildings, and she has an attention to detail that I think is awesome, and I really think she cares for our kids. So if this is a benefit to her, I would support that.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mrs. Hood?
Hi, thank you. I wanted to echo Tom's comments about Kathy, and she is a wonderful asset to our district. I'm just wondering, I guess it's more a personal question that we may not have an answer to, whether she is going to then have 2 full-time jobs, or whether Mott will bear the consequences of us getting her full-time.
In discussions with Ms. Ferris, she has indicated that she will be leaving full-time employment with Mott. She would continue to work there on occasion, but her intent is to become a full-time district employee and give us her full-time attention, and then work at Mott on a much less frequent basis.
Thank you.
Murphy? Thank you, Mrs. Hood.
Yeah, I'll just say real quick, I'm very excited to have Kathy on board, having been on the 8th grade field trip with her, where I don't think slept at all, because she has such concern for our students. I know she's been a tremendous resource to our staff, and that she, puts kids first. So I'm very excited that we are considering this, and certainly would support bringing her on full time, because we have too big a district to not do it, and too many kids that have some medical needs that, quite honestly, I think in the past we had some of our secretarial staff attending to, rather than a nurse. So I'm thrilled that that was years ago, excuse me, but yeah, so I'm excited about this. I'm excited that the administration is moving in this direction, and we think we can bring her on board full time, because I think we desperately need her.
Ms. Ferris started part-time when I came to the district in 2010, and when she started, I told her my goal was to get her to be a full-time employee, and it only took me 10 years to do that.
We're glad you.
And a pandemic.
And a pandemic.
Wonderful. Okay. Any other comments or discussion points? Okay. Seeing none, I think that we will be ready to move this, Dr. Matthews, to action item at our next meeting. So
all right,
thank you very much. And thank you to Dr. Kinzer and Dr. McIntyre for working with Ms. Ferris to talk through, that employment piece of it, and getting the funding that we need to be able to have a full-time nurse such as her, which we should be very proud of here in our district. So thank you. Next up, we have information and discussion item, coronavirus screening update. So I will just pass that right over to you, Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. The Novi Community School District COVID-19 Learning Plan provides 2 options for parents. One option is the in-person hybrid option. The second option is the complete virtual option. These options were developed because the administrative team felt it was safe and important to provide our parents with a choice this fall. The administrative team made the decision to return based in part on the numbers that we reviewed of cases. One of the assurances that we committed to with the extended COVID-19 learning plan was to review key metrics. For much of the summer and into the start of the school year, Novi was left to analyze numbers by ourselves. The State of Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Oakland County Health Division, had not yet supplied any metric. However, on September 16th, the state and Oakland County Health presented guidance for in-person instruction. The CDC also released guidance for decision-making. Tonight, we will discuss the metrics that have guided our administrative team as we have moved through the pandemic. And there's 4 kind of key areas. One is our own numbers in our district. One is the Oakland County Weekly Report that has started to come out in the last 3 weeks. The third is providing you with the state guidance for in-person instruction, and then also the CDC indicators for school decision making. So tonight I'd like to share with the board and our community numbers that we're reviewing as we navigate through the COVID-19 pandemic. The Oakland County Health Department and the state of Michigan have shared a lot of information during the coronavirus outbreak. In Novi, I have been tracking a set of numbers for many weeks that have guided our decision making. As you are aware, I informed the board as we were developing our recommendation that our county and state health departments were not offering clear guidance on when it was safe to reopen. On August 6th, as the board was preparing to make a decision, I shared information from the Minnesota Department of Health that gave a range based on 14-day case rates per 100,000 people. Using this as a guide, I suggested 3 guideposts. 0 cases per 10,000 residents to less than 10 cases, we could be in person 5 days a week. 10 cases to less than 30, we would do a hybrid option. And 31 cases or above per 10,000 residents, we would do virtual for all. At that time, in the zip codes in our school district, we're averaging between 10 and 15 cases per resident. As you can see on the spreadsheet that I provided you, numbers are provided by zip code starting August 9th that show our numbers fluctuate between 10 and 25 cases per day per 10,000 residents. Averages over 14-day ranges between 12 and 20 cases per 10,000 residents. I also track 7-day average of daily cases in the county and counts by day. These numbers to provide context, but do not provide specific Novi Community School District numbers. However, many of our staff live in districts outside of Novi in Oakland County and beyond, so these numbers are important to know. Oakland County Health on August 20th started providing 14-day averages of cases per 10,000 people in school districts. Novi started strong, but has slipped back to averaging 12.2 cases per 10,000 residents in the period from September 3rd to 16. And then the latest report that came out today that provided data from September 10th to the 23rd shows us at 15.2 per 10,000 residents in our district. I also tracked the positivity rate since July 10th. While this number is important, it really is dependent on the number of people being tested. In conversations with the Oakland County Health Department epidemiologist, she indicated that the positivity rate is not that good of an indicator because it is so dependent on the number of people being tested. Oakland County started providing weekly COVID-19 reports. They have identified metrics that the state wants school boards to review. These metrics include the total confirmed and probable cases, 14-day average daily counts, 14-day average daily deaths, hospitalizations, percent positive, and healthcare capacity. The state came out with guidance for in-person instruction. They look primarily at cases per million residents and percent positive. Currently, with an Oakland County population of just under 1.3 million residents, we would be considered high risk in the cases per million residents and medium risk for the percent positive. Finally, the CDC has identified indicators for school decision makers. In these indicators, we would be considered in the lower risk of transmission category. So you can see that there is no one metric that is being used by everyone to indicate if our school district could be considered low, medium, or high risk. With the state indicators, we're both medium and high risk. With the CDC, we are in the lower risk category. Using Minnesota criteria, we are in the hybrid category at this point. What I know is that in our schools, things are going well right now. With the use of social distance, mask, hand sanitizer, disinfectant wipes, we are not reporting cases that have occurred in school. We have had, as you know, several cases that have occurred outside of the school day. We did have 8 students test positive for COVID-19 who attend Novi High School, but the contact tracing and the reports from Oakland County Health Division seem to indicate that these cases originated outside of the school day. The Board of Education must recommit to our plan every 30 days. Our plan originally identified that we would have our plan in place through November 6th. We believe that it is prudent for the board to examine either extending our current plan through first semester based on the numbers that we see. This would allow social distancing, mandatory mask, and the other safety precautions to continue through the end of January. We will present to the board next week some information on the difficulty in bringing everyone back or allowing schedule changes starting in November. Right now, we are settling into a good rhythm with our students and staff. Disruptive change is not good for education. We faced disruptive change in March when our schools closed, and while we changed our educational approach this fall, we had time to plan. At this point, it appears the plan is working. Ultimately, it would be best to have everyone back in school face-to-face, but that would create potential health risk based on the numbers that we are seeing. And so next week with the board, we will present some of the difficulties in changing the plan starting in November, but we will also present to the board some ideas on what potential options might be. And on October 15th, we would ask the board, based on all the conversations that we have had and that we will have on October 1st, to recommit to a plan moving forward for the rest of the first semester. So that's where we are with the coronavirus tracking information that we have, and that the information that the board is supposed to review to help us decide what our risk is here in our district.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Matthews. I know, Tom, I'm just washing the windows here for my friend. I'm glad I got you to smile down there. That was my ultimate goal. Yes, Dr. Matthews, I know that I had sent over to you and Sheila earlier today about the weekly report, and that there, was a new one. So I don't know, based on what you'd like to do, but maybe in your weekly updates, the board can receive those weekly reports, because as we can see, this report and the trending have really changed dramatically between the 16th of September and even to the 23rd. So just so the board doesn't have to go looking for the information.
We will certainly share that with the board tomorrow in our weekly update.
Okay, great. Any questions for Dr. Matthews at this point, based on the information that he's provided today? Mr. Cook?
Thank you, Dr. Matthews, for keeping all this information and getting it to us. It's greatly appreciated. I know I look at a number of different factors on this, and none of them match up with each other. So it's not an easy decision to make and an easy thing to keep track of, but appreciate your efforts.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mrs. Murphy, you had your hand raised a minute ago.
I did. I just had a quick question, Dr. Matthews, about, I know you indicated bringing this back, having some conversation. So this is maybe a future conversation, but just wondering what the discussion has been around maybe not, are we treating all our grade levels the same? Is that the intention, or is there some discussion about some?
Yep, that's a good question. I think certainly you are going to start hearing hearing information from other districts around the county that are going to start bringing some students back. As you know, the vast majority of districts in the county started virtually. And they have decided that they would like to start bringing students back. Most of them that I've talked to, and I've talked to about 15 districts in the county who are in various stages of planning, are going to have a differentiated approach with their students. And they're going to really look at potentially bringing back elementary students first, and then making decisions on middle and high school students as we move forward. And they'll range from bringing everybody back all at once to bringing students back in a hybrid format to bringing even at the elementary level, starting with K1, and then a week later bringing 2-3, and then a week later bringing 4-5. And so there's a whole variety of approaches out there. The dilemma that we have with these numbers, as Mr. Cook rightly pointed out, is that it's hard to get agreement on what all the numbers are. And even as you look at the risk categories from the state of Michigan. We find ourselves in both a high risk and a low risk category. And when you find yourself in that situation, the state of Michigan is saying you should focus on, or you should look at the high risk category more than any other category. And so I think there are options, and we'll kind of discuss some of those as we come back to the board on October 1st to kind of present options. As you know, the extended COVID learning plan requires that the board review it every 30 days. 30 days from tonight, you don't have a board meeting, but you do have one on the 15th. So that would be the decision point that we would ask the board to make then.
Mrs. Murphy, do you have another?
I was going to say, I did hear that rather than it being every 30 days, if the governor signs the legislation that was passed in the House and the Senate, that it would just be once a month. So it won't have to be every 30 days. So we can do it based on our schedule rather than, some arbitrary deadline, which will be good. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Murphy. Any other questions or comments for Dr. Matthews?
So we will continue to supply the board with all these numbers every week. So.
Great. And I think in some of the information I sent that I had received from Oakland County that was sent to board presidents, there was also that flow chart and that quarantine paper that they just released, I believe, in the last day or so.
Right, and we've actually linked on our district website under the COVID response plan links to all those flow charts.
Great, thank you. Okay. We will have further discussions and bring this back to the board next week at our October 1st meeting. So thank you. Next, we have our superintendent's report. So Dr. Matthews, you're up again.
Well, actually, it's comments.
Oh, wait. Yeah, sorry. I got way ahead of myself. I was trying to race Tom here. So we're like, next we have comments from the audience. This is an opportunity.
There are no additional comments from the audience.
Okay, thank you. And we will move to the committee report. And we did have one committee meeting that occurred this afternoon. And Mrs. Roney, I will just turn it over to you to give the curriculum committee report.
Hi, we met this afternoon. Me, Tom, Willie, RJ, Dr. Matthews, and Sheila was there too. And we are looking at updating our health textbook. It's rather old and we need to do a new one. And we need to get this okayed and in place by January, or not in place, but okayed for the new health curriculum in January. And then we also need to do, we're looking at a PE, I won't call it credit. What did we call it, Dr. Matthews?
A requirement.
Requirement, there you go. So that also needs to be handled by January as well. So the next couple board meetings or October, November, we could have some wonderful things to look at. So we'll keep everybody updated.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Roney, for your leadership and for the work that's being done at the curriculum meeting. We're looking forward to seeing that here at the board meeting for discussion and information and action in the future. So appreciate you. Now we have the superintendent's report. He was trying to get a breath, but we're back to you already.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. My report is mercifully brief this evening. I just have been in and around the district over the past couple of weeks, and I just continue to be very impressed with our staff. I was in a kindergarten teacher's classroom who just expressed to me how much fun she was having as a virtual teacher for kindergarten students. That her and her students were learning, that they were engaging with each other, and she just had a huge smile on her face, and it was really heartening to see. I also walked into the orchestra teacher teaching virtually at Meadows, and they were tuning their instruments virtually She had them up on the screen, and she was very excited about how it was working out. I've also been in hybrid classrooms and seen teachers really working hard to ensure that students are having a really positive experience during the day while they were with the teachers, and that they're well prepared to move forward with their at-home learning. Are there things that we can continue to improve on? Yes, there certainly are. Are there things that we're trying to ensure that we find ways to make better? Yes, there are. But overall, our teachers have responded marvelously. Our administrative team has worked tirelessly to ensure that things go well. And so at this point in our district, I believe that we are having a positive experience with our students. Over the next several weeks, we'll have discussions about what our next steps need to be, and I look forward to those discussions. But right now, I feel that we're in a good spot. And that's my report for this evening, Dr. Ruskin.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. Thank you for the report. Next, we have our administrative reports, and we will start with Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Just a couple of quick updates from the business office. Some great news circulated out of Lansing on yesterday about the state aid, school aid fund. Looks like we're not going to be subjected to a cut for 2021. In addition to that, we're going to get a one-time $65 per student bump. Now that equates to more than $400,000, which will make up some of the lost income from rental revenue that we're supposed to get. Count day is Wednesday, October the 7th. So shortly after that, we'll know where we're going to land with the student count. I'm anticipating a small drop from where we were last year because we did lose St. Patrick's School, which factors into our count as well. Also, just to remind you, we did get the $2.3 million coronavirus relief fund money. That money came to us via state aid, but it is a grant. So we're going to funnel as many expenses as we can to that grant to absorb all 2.3 million of that. We're working on that right now. And then the last thing, I've picked up the Safe Routes to School grant. That's a $1.2 million infrastructure grant and about a $56,000 soft cost grant. So I've picked that up. We're working with that, and we'll have more information on you as we go along with that. Our partners with the Safe Route to School consist of Michigan Department of Education, Michigan Fitness, the City of Novi, and HM Engineers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. Although you've only been with us for a certain number of months, you get to present that really awesome news, which is always a good thing to share. So thank you for all your work and everything that you're working on so diligently as we move through this difficult school year. Next, we have Dr. Weber.
Hey.
Hey.
How are you doing? So I'd like to first say thank you to all the teachers, administrators, parents, students. It's been a joy really having everyone back and getting a sense over the past month of the joy people have in engaging in teaching and learning again. I'd like to thank our school resource officers first off. So we had a situation last week that I had to attend to, and our two school resource officers from the City of Novi Police Department were beyond phenomenal in a very difficult situation. And it shows the power of building relationships and what community policing can do. And so I really want to thank our two resource officers, Julia Warren and John Zabik, for really going above and beyond in so many ways and helping last week. So thank you to them. Also bus drivers. So a story that I want to share with the community is, these are things that I wish you could all see, but just by nature you can't. So a bus driver was assisting a student with significant special needs. And the student was very, very reticent to get into a restraint seat on the bus. And the deftness, the compassion, the love that this driver showed in helping this young man find another seat that was still safe, but didn't have quite as much of the stuff that was bothering him, yet still remained restrained, was beautiful. And to see those stories, whether it's our bus drivers, our custodians, our school resource officers, food service, that I wish all of you could see. We're really, really fortunate. from a standpoint of Playworks is back in the district, and actually the coach met the coach Tyler today. He was at Deerfield, and our Playworks coaches are actually working with K-5 students who are virtual and hybrid. So parents, I think you're really going to enjoy from the K-4 level seeing what Playworks is up close and personal in the virtual format. So that's awesome. And then science, if you do have virtual students, which about 52% of our students are virtual, through the incredible efforts of several people, Greg McIntyre, Emily Polonsky, Bridget Zaradnik, science captains, so every grade level has different science captains. We have Heather Thompson at Deerfield as one. We're actually packaging bags of materials for parents to pick up so their students can use those at home to continue that work. And Mr. McIntyre and I had a meeting this week with Emily Polonsky, and Greg, I think she made a good impression on you because she went from what we thought was going to be a $77,000 upcharge to make this work. We had to make a couple concessions, but we got it down to, I think, a $7,000 upcharge to provide that level of service. So that was phenomenal. And then two other things, and I'm going to save the final piece for last on the furniture program because I want Greg to really speak to this, but sometimes I can be guilty of seeing the stars and forget I don't have a rocket ship. And people that I work with, I know I can sometimes, a lot of head scratching. And Greg McIntyre, I'm going to tell you right now, in just a few months, has been a joy and a pleasure to work with. And I'll give you a couple examples. So the first example is this one. So whiteboards, I'd mentioned this before, but every single student in the Novi Community School District is going to receive their own personal whiteboard, their own marker with it, and like a sticky. Now, why is that important? Let me show you why that is important. So if you can imagine something like a teacher trying to, and the difference between being able to see something like this as opposed to something like this. The difference is night and day, right? I wrote the same thing, but your ability to see them is far different in this format. Also, from a social justice and equity standpoint, one of the things I like is this is a very low risk approach where kids can quickly erase that dry erase that they have on there if they don't really want the world to see it. Kids can ideate, and we can also get kids away from screens as they work with this. Our science teachers have actually used whiteboards, math teachers have used whiteboards, and this is going to really, I think, be something that is helpful for our students, both hybrid and virtual. We were able to work with a company to produce these, and actually the back of them will have the PowerCat logo on them. But really, Greg McIntyre, when I talked to him about this notion and this idea, was exceptionally helpful, seeing the value in it and helping to negotiate a spectacular price point, frankly. And he and his assistant, Miss Christine Dietiker, really helped to pull that together. So much love there. And then tomorrow, this is going to be cool. Greg, you ready? You ready? Let's test this out. So tomorrow, we are going to be the very first district in the country that I know of that is actually going to offer a furniture loan program. And parents will receive surveys tomorrow, and these surveys are actual sign up. So Greg and I got to thinking, like, wait a second, we've got half of our district filled with furniture. It's just sitting there, right? Our taxpayers paid for it. We've got families with 3, 4, 5, 6, bless your heart, 7 kids. And you run out of kitchen table space and you run out of couch space and you're like, what? So we are going to give parents the opportunity with as much as we have. It's not saying it's going to necessarily be available to everybody, but we can make a really big dent in it to get chairs, tables, and hockey stools, which the hockey stool are kind of the wobble stools I think that many of you are familiar with right here. And to provide our parents with another value add for being a Novi Community School District parent. But I'm saving the best for last because we're having this meeting and we're thinking, all right, so what happens if like I drive a Prius, right? How do I pick up this stuff? And that's where Greg McIntyre comes in. Let's tag team it. How are we going to get this furniture to him, Greg?
We're going to deliver it to them.
So if you didn't hear that, some of this COVID relief money that we have and working with partners who would like to help us do this, Greg had a fantastic idea as another value add that we would actually be delivering that furniture to the household so people don't have to come get it. Again, this is about providing our families with the resources they need, whether it's Chromebooks, whiteboards, science kits, furniture. That's a true differentiator, and I mean this humbly, between our district and others. And the reason for that is a school board that's managed our money very well, a community that has supported us in our bonds, employees like Greg McIntyre who see the possibility and opportunity in things and do whatever we can to get to yes, to help each of our kids and our families. So with that said, super excited about all of that. And I know Bobby, maybe, and if you want to bring up the PEP program at all, that has kind of got rolling, that'd be fantastic. And then I mentioned The Deepest Well some time ago. Just if you haven't seen it, that's the book. We had to order another 150 copies. So we're actually going to distribute 650 copies to our staff. Had a hall monitor at the middle school stop me the other day and say it was a phenomenal book and very helpful in his work with children. So I'm just looking over at my table, make sure I didn't forget anything here. And I think we're good. So I hope everyone's well and doing as well as they possibly can, and realizing that together we will not only come through this or get through this, but come through this, I believe, stronger as a community school district. So thank you to all the board and families, Dr. Matthews, Mr. McIntyre, thank you.
Thank you, RJ. I appreciate you. And next is board communication. So I'll just roll right into that. I wanted to just thank you for you and the cabinet's creativity. You know, every day I get to go on Twitter and I see, I saw the tweet about the bus driver, and it's almost palpable, the compassion and real passion for what everyone's doing. And I think that, not that it's changed, I think that all of the staff has always been passionate, but you know, when things are going good for 5, 10, 20 years, you just get into a groove and maybe you don't express that. But I think it's really wonderful to really just, you can feel it when you see what these staff members and what all of you are doing. So I appreciate that. And the creativity is great. I look and I see the Ziploc bags of the science projects or science materials. And it's just amazing, really, to see how everyone in the district has really just taken the challenge and thought outside the box and found ways to say, we can do this. We just have to think of a way, not, yeah, we can't do that. That's not going to work. We're going to have to just let that go and maybe not do that science this year. So I think it's really wonderful. And I appreciate every member of the community here who works hard every day, whether they're a paraprofessional, a bus driver, superintendent, secretary, teacher. It's really amazing to watch and be proud to be a part of the community. So that's just my board comment, but if anyone else, I'm sure you all have something that you want to share. Mrs. Murphy?
Yeah, I just want to share real quick. Thank you, RJ, for that lead in for PEP. So the Novi Mental Health Alliance, which hasn't been meeting since COVID struck, but the Parents Empowering Parents subcommittee of that group was all set to start training. So the goal is to kind of have some training for parents who maybe have walked through something difficult with their child, be kind of equipped to walk alongside another parent that might be experiencing something similar with their own child. So we actually have decided we're going to do an outdoor training on October 5th. It's going to be at Rotary Park. I believe it starts at 6:30. So we're trying to get the word out about that. That is normally the meeting of the Novi Mental Health Alliance. So we're really hoping that a lot of the people that come to that will at least come to the initial thing. And then we're going to be setting up, it'll just be a brief introduction, and this is kind of what we do. And then they're going to have videos for parents to watch as part of their training, like video segments that they can do on their own. So it won't be a real long meeting, lengthy meeting, I don't believe, but it will give parents some idea about what they're getting themselves into if they decide to go ahead and pursue the training. So I would just really encourage anybody who, you know, might be interested in learning more about it, or even learning more about the Novi Mental Health Alliance, to just kind of come and meet some of the people. And like I said, it's at Rotary Park, and there is a registration available for that. But that information will be going out to everyone. And some of the flyers actually, I think, have already been distributed. So that is it.
Thank you, Mrs. Murphy. Appreciate you. Any other comments? Mr. Smith?
Thank you. A couple of things. Some of you may have noticed signs around the different schools welcoming back the superheroes. The folks that put those signs up are concerned that they might start to look a little funky now with all the weather we've had. So I'm encouraging any teachers that want to take home a sign to put in their yard, or if any of our school board members want to take a couple of signs and put them someplace where they think it would be appropriate, that would be welcomed by those that place the signs. My next comment is really for Dr. Kinzer, who's not here. I want to thank, obviously, Dr. Matthews for his leadership, RJ for your passion and energy, Mr. McIntyre, Greg for your work so far, although you haven't been with us for a long time. But I also want to, I'll circle back with Greg Kinzer to talk about the hiring process for the last teacher round, where we had one of 19 teachers that were hired that were of a minority class. So I want to continue to work with Dr. Kinzer and see what we can come up with as a district to encourage different applicants or a more diverse group of applicants to apply for the positions within our district. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Appreciate your comments. I'm sure those will get forwarded to Gary, or you can reach out to him. Any other comments from board members? Mr. Cook?
Yeah, I guess I was only going to say one thing, but I got to say a second one. Mr. McIntyre, thank you for keeping RJ under control. It's not an easy task. So, but the other one is Eval, and she's been passing out lunches for people. And I don't know, I actually had an opportunity to drive by the high school at both times today when they were doing their pickup, and the line was out onto Taft Road both times. I heard some wait times were as much as 20 minutes or more. But her and her girls are passing out meals, and they are doing the yeoman's job of just getting back and forth and getting it packaged up and out to them. So Evil and her crew get some major props from a lot of people right now.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. I appreciate that. Yeah, again, another creative thing that happened. I'm guessing that things weren't maybe working exactly as she had wanted, and she wasn't reaching as many families and students. So, she came up with a new plan and a new idea, and her team are implementing that, which is really wonderful to see, and that it's being utilized in the community. So thank you for your comments.
Can she utilize volunteers to help pass that out? Do you know, RJ?
We'll ask RJ to ask her.
Yeah, I believe that that was something we could always use horsepower, so to speak. Today, Paul, I saw the same piece. I know they've got it down as far as them taking perhaps the information from people, but I've never seen a vol turn anyone down who wants to put a shoulder into helping people. So if you're personally wondering that, Paul, I think just reaching out to her, and she would be able to interface with you, and I'm sure she would appreciate it. Actually, I think that's a really neat idea. Maybe I'll take my son there next week. So thanks for that idea.
I think you called my name, didn't you? You kind of muted out there, Danielle.
I did. Mr. Meno.
All right. We had an exciting week at Novi High School this week. We had our inaugural cross-country race right on the high school property. As many of you know, when our cross-country teams race, their home turf has been over in Hines Park, Cass Benton. And when you get out there on a Tuesday night, you're competing against a lot of other schools, because a lot of schools race at that same location. So, we partnered with the city, and we went ahead I should say the cross-country coaches went ahead and created a trail on our property, on some of the city property, and we had our inaugural race against I think the girls against Salem and the boys against Canton on Tuesday night. And it was just a really great event. And to actually finally have your own cross-country trail on high school property is a real luxury. And so, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing how, you know, how they update that course and how they make it better over time. But it was just a really cool thing to see. And then I'm also excited that finally football will be starting tomorrow. Our first game of the season, you know, will be tomorrow, home game. So I think everybody's excited to finally get that sport kicked off here.
Thank you, Mr. Meno, and thank you for all your time and energy helping cross country and football and just keeping yourself extra busy in case you weren't busy enough. Okay. Any other comments from board members? No? Okay. So that being seen, no waving of the hands, I will ask for a recommendation, a motion to adjourn. Mr. Cook?
I move that the September 24th meeting be adjourned.
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Cook and supported by Mrs. Murphy. Mr. Mena, if we can get a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee